Hi there. This is a continuation of my report on how HBO announced they've greenlit a Tales of Dunk and Egg TV series titled A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and then George R. R. Martin made a big blog post giving more details about it. Now, in the first part, I talked about what writers they've hired and stuff. Split off now, in this part, I want to analyze the episode structure for Season 1. A big thing that Martin said in his blog post is that Season 1, first it'll be based on first novella, The Hedge Knight. That they have 3 current novellas, they're going to do 1 novella per season, then they might go on break, eventually get to the other ones that aren't written yet. But okay, 3 seasons in the can, there's time skips in it. But he said the first season is The Hedge Knight, and it's 6 episodes instead of 10. Which is great, there's no way you could stretch that out into 10 episodes. I thought I'd have to put more material in it. But then he went on to say in a different part of the blog post, this series as a whole will cover things that happened between novellas that happened off screen. A giant thing that happens between the first and second novellas is this big plague hits Westeros. The Great Spring Sickness. It's their version of the Black Death. And Dunk and Egg survived this because they went and had an adventure in Dorne at the time. Dorne closed the mountain passes as a quarantine. So you'd see them going to Dorne, getting into an adventure there. And this would probably intercut with characters we met at the tourney, like Egg's father Maekar, as a POV or something, I'm guessing. You then could see that, I'm speculating Martin didn't say this, but you could then actually show the devastation of the major cities like King's Landing, which is just described retroactively in the second novella through Dunk's inner narration. Not really sure how they do that, so I went back and closely reread the first novella, The Hedge Knight. And I'm trying to think of what the story breaks are. Big question I want to address in this video is, would a 6-episode season start with where Hedge Knight starts, end with Egg joining him on his adventures? Or would that be like the first 3 episodes, and they'd stick the Dorne and Plague stuff at the end of Season 1? Neither of these is entirely good or bad, that there's merit to, let's have a tight 6-episode season. I'm thinking like how The Mandalorian sometimes would have only a 30-minute episode. These aren't going to be the size of House of the Dragon episodes, which were long. That if you compare those to the last time that Game of Thrones had a 10-episode season, Season 6, average runtime was so much longer on House of the Dragon, it averaged like 62 minutes, that the 10 episodes of Season 1 of House of the Dragon would equal 11 episodes of Game of Thrones Season 6 by average runtime. I'm looking for like 30-minute episodes is what I think they're doing. I'm not really sure. But the fact that they said specifically 6 hit a chord with a couple of people. Credit where credit's due, I didn't think of this, that people in the Westeros.org forums pointed out. You know, when they adapted this as a graphic novel, it's a completed graphic novel adaptation. It came in 6 issues. So, should they use the chapter breaks that the graphic novel did, or for TV purposes, even for 30-minute episodes, could you fit the story of the Hedge Knight in 3 episodes, or maybe they'd be 3-hour-longs, then do Dorne and the Plague stuff? I'm not really sure. This is just encouraging discussion. We'll see what they do. We have no way of knowing. So, going back over this, well, how did the graphic novel do it? First issue ends when Egg joins Dunk as his squire. Second one is when the steward Manfred Dondarrion refuses to vouch for Dunk to join the tournament to the steward who's entering him in the lists. But then he goes and comes back for something else, and Baelor Breakspear says, oh yeah, I remember Sir Arlen who you squired for. If you say you were his squire, okay, you can join the lists, why not? So, okay, that happens. He goes to the tournament, but his turn isn't up yet. And there's a long sequence of watching the first day of jousts. The climax of the 3rd issue is Aerion Brightflame kills Sir Humphrey Harding's horse. Sort of like what Daemon did in the TV series. Well, Daemon tripped up his horse. Aerion, he impales Humphrey's horse through the neck with a spear, with his lance. And it's horrible. They have to finish off the horse because it's screaming. That's the climax of the third issue. And that is a pretty good stopping point. Just, whoa, what the hell? Then issue 4 is Dunk's confrontation with, he goes back and to the rest of the parade ground at night, and he sees that Arion is beating up Tanselli. So no one else is willing to help. He breaks her finger, so he rushes in and punches Arion and beats him off of her. But, he's a prince of the royal blood, and you just punched him, and then they reveal, Egg comes forward and says, brother, unhand him, and he reveals he's actually Arion's younger brother and also a prince. So that issue 4 ends with the climax of Egg is actually a Targaryen, and you are being accused of you just beat up a prince of the royal blood. That is also a good climax point. In issue 5, Arion asks for the archaic right of a trial by 7 instead of just a trial by combat, because he goes, you can't find 6 men who are willing to stand with you. And it's them going around trying to find people who will vouch for him, and at the very end, when they think they can't find, he's begging the people in the bleachers, please, can someone fight with me? Are there no true knights among you? And they're all silent, and the theme of chivalry and everything, Baelor Breakspear rides him. I love that trope of at the last minute, no one will stand for you, Spartacus. I'll stand for Sir Duncan. That's a great stopping point for an episode as well. Then issue 6 has the climactic trial 7. So, like, issue 4 has a good stopping point, issue 5 has a good stopping point, even issue 3 has a good stopping point that Arion kills a guy's horse. But the first 2 issues don't exactly end on a hook, do they? Egg joins Dunk as his squire. Manfred refuses to vouch for Dunk to join the tournament. So I think, depending on, so much as, it's in a comic book, in a TV show, we'd have, a 10-minute jousting sequence that is not in the text, or just in one paragraph says, and then these guys fought throughout the day. You could do that. I think, the first 3 issues of the way these 6 issues are split up, the first 3 should be the first episode. Just go up to when Arion Brightflame kills that guy's horse. Then again, a lot of the first one could just be setting up, you see the other princelings coming in doing that. One thing they might want to do is to air 2 episodes back to back, so people see, okay, these guys are Targaryens, this is what the crux of this story is, you punched a Targaryen prince, and now you're facing trial by combat. If that's not set up within the first episode or 2, people might lose interest. And I can see that. In which case, if you make all of that happen in maybe 4 episodes, I think a varying length, maybe 30-minute episodes, if the first 3 comic issues are 1 episode, then the 4th one is him trying to find other people. You could do this in 3, maybe 4 episodes. Should you then do actually showing them in Dorne, and then the 6th episode is the plague? At first I was really in favor of that, but now I don't know what to think, because having sat down and reread, my hardcover of all of this, if you do that, there isn't much left over for Season 2. That so much of the second novella, The Sworn Sword, is them describing through vivid narration, recalling, this is what happened off-screen. That we briefly visited Old Town, and my older brother Aemon, who's training to be a maester, recurring character Maester Aemon in his youth. But then they go to Dorne. They're in service to Mad Lady Vaith, who's insane, and they only describe that vaguely what happened there. They were looking for Tanselli, so they went on looked for work in Dorne to also try to find her. They never found her. And that's why they got lucky that they said Dorne and the Vale of Arryn, because they're both mountainous. They managed to close the mountain passes and self-quarantine when the plague hit. Then you could see all the stuff of so many people were dying unburied in the streets of King's Landing that they had to round them up, the stereotypical bring out your dead, the cartloads of corpses that they brought to the dragon pit, and they had these mass funeral pyres that they used wildfire to burn all the bodies thoroughly, which burns green. So they said, the person describing it says there was this unearthly green glow on the horizon of the city at night from all the bodies they had to burn with wildfire. So, should you show off-screen events like that? I think they should, but no one's questioning, should we see Dorne on screen? Martin even said in his blog post, I'm tempted to dash off a quick novella about their time in Dorne. Which, they're short, and he could easily dash that off. That's not really, it's in his head, so I don't have a problem with that. If it took him like a week to do that, I'm fine. Would it work better to do that early in season 2 or late season 1? And I'm just so worried about, without that, what else is left in season 2? Rohanne Weber? This drought? I mean, how much of the story do you see beyond Dunk's perspective? Because a lot of the whole point is it's focused. But mentioning the Ironborn or raiding or whatever, should we see that on screen? I don't know. Well, the first question was, if you want to show what happened off screen between the first and second novellas, is it better to put that in season 1 or late season 1 or early season 2? Otherwise, season 2 doesn't have much to do, and there aren't really good stopping points for an episode until Aerion Brightflame kills that horse. This is all the first question. The second question, a little more complicated. How much should season 1 mention the Blackfyre Rebellion? Because while Martin did know of the Blackfyre Rebellion since the first A Song of Ice and Fire novel, he hadn't really worked out how much Dunk and Egg would tie into it until the second Dunk and Egg novella. If you read the first novella, it does not mention the Blackfyre Rebellion whatsoever. It doesn't matter for Dunk. That, just as with that much of the second novella is spent describing the plague that happened, retroactively, much of the second novella, the entire point is introducing the Blackfyre Rebellion. That Eustace Osgrey is this kindly old, kind of pathetic knight, and Dunk likes him, Egg likes him, and then and he lost his whole family. His sons died in the war, he says, but he never said on which side. And then they reveal that actually he was this Blackfyre supporter. There were heroes and villains on both sides, as they say, that some people just fought because their overlord fought, so they were called on. Some people were just honorable people who got swept up in it, and there were people on both sides of it. And the only people who really... the people who certainly lost were the small folks, seeing how war devastates them, how it's pathetic that Osgrey thinks like a handful of commoners can fight Weber for water rights. This isn't going to be glorious. That so much of the introduction of the Blackfyre Rebellion is done that way. And when the comic book did, there was also a graphic novel adaptation of the second novella. Most of what the visual imagery we officially have for the Blackfyre Rebellion, the Battle of Redgrass Field, is told through vivid narration in the second novella. The second graphic novel adaptation of it, there's just pages of seeing the Raven's Teeth shooting Daemon Blackfyre dead on the battlefield. If a TV show were to do this, they should do it the way the graphic novel did, which is save those flashbacks for the second season, for the second graphic novel out of the trio, is what I'm saying. Even so, while we shouldn't have a full episode wouldn't do it justice, is a big point. I know people are going to be yelling in the comments here, like a single episode flashback wouldn't give it justice. Whereas it would be like a 3-episode arc in season 2 of Eustace Osgrey explaining, well, honorable people were on both sides, it was this silly succession dispute, the people ended up dead anyway, so the commoners lost. That needs to have the time devoted to it for all... It's the focus of season 2. The flashbacks to that and setting it up, rather than squeeze it into season 1 and not do it justice. Even so, the fact of the matter is that season 1... Hedge Knight never even mentions the Blackfyre Rebellion. Mentioning in passing that, Baelor and Maekar were heroes of the Blackfyre Rebellion might at least come up in dialogue in season 1. This would be a change from the novella, but oh yeah, Maekar and Baelor, they're the heroes of the Blackfyre Rebellion. Without really going into detail about what happened. Game of Thrones Season 1, the TV show, mentioned Robert's Rebellion and would give a little bit of exposition on it, but it wasn't like a full episode flashback, really detailed on, what was the Battle of the Bells leading up to the Battle of the Trident. I don't think they ever clearly explained the Battle of the Trident in dialogue, just that Robert killed Rhaegar in personal combat in the final battle. But not even as much as Game of Thrones Season 1, though. That's taking away too much time and focus, but the selling point of the first novella is it's self-contained. And you kind of ruin that if you add in the Plague stuff after that, or if you add in Blackfyre stuff, that it's just Dunk going to this tourney, you meet these Targaryens, then in Season 2 they explain the backstory of these other characters, that I was a hero of the Blackfyre Rebellion, and this is what happened with that. Then again, they might want a through line with the Rhaenyra story by showing Blackfyre. You see Blackfyre in House of the Dragon, that Viserys has their ancestral sword, actually showing, oh yeah, the Blackfyres. Why do they call them the Blackfyres? Isn't that the name of the sword? But these are questions left for the comments section of, could you tell in 6 episodes, is the Hedge Knight enough to sustain 6 episodes worth of story? Or is it more like 3 or 4, and then episodes 5 and 6 should be about them in Dorne and then the Plague, in which case, what would they then do in Season 2? And second, related to that, I do not think they should have a full flashback to the Battle of Redgrass Field in Season 1. If you're going to do that, do it in Season 2. Or describe it like the way the graphic novel did. But they probably should mention them a little in the background, mention in passing, oh yes, I know him from the Blackfyre, oh, Sir Arlen fought well in the Blackfyre Rebellion, which we later find out that, like, his previous squire died in the Blackfyre Rebellion, that's why he's there, that Sir Arlen got a replacement. So, these are exciting discussions to have about how to break up each episode, because House of the Dragon is based on an outline. Fire and Blood is an outline, and it has major time skips in it. We didn't know exactly what the episode breakdown would be. Think of talk about this in the comments, the utter contrast that for the first 3 seasons of this Dunk and Egg show, and we'll see if it gets more seasons after that. This is the only other prequel era that is fully narrativized. And not only is it fully narrativized, there is a good graphic novel adaptation to compare how to adapt it into a visual medium and what the story breaks are. This seems so middling of, should episode 2 end with Banfred Dondarrion telling Dunk he can't join the tournament as a climax? Or should episode 2 basically be, I'll stand with Sir Duncan, and then episode 3 is the trial of 7? How fast are they going to adapt this? Should they be 30-minute episodes, 60-minute episodes? 6 episodes can mean a couple of things. These are open-ended questions I don't have answers for. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you more. If I did, it would be clickbait of, oh, okay, it'll go this fast. How much is Season 1 going to cover of the Hedge Knight? Is that other stuff going to come later? How much are they going to mention the Blackfyre Rebellions? I look forward to your answers in the comments. I'm going to try to respond to all of them.